It's definitely a war. A conflict for me is when two parties can decide on something, but here it's pretty much a one-sided offense from the Russian side, from the Kreml side on Ukraine. Their Ukrainian sovereignty is being attacked. The Ukrainian way of life is being attacked by Putin and his henchmen, and therefore, what we're seeing right now is a full offense war, including several war crimes, and it's incomprehensible that in 2022 we're reliving something like this. Our generation is truly devastated by it. First of all, it makes me incredibly angry because we did not elect Alexander Lukashenko for the past, what, 20 years, maybe. The first actual election he may have won, but after that it was just betrayal, it was falsification of election results, and he does not represent the Belarusian people. I myself hold a German citizenship, but still at heart I'm a Belarusian. It's my home country, and I still feel very connected to its people and my heritage. And therefore, what we're seeing right now is the betrayal of the Belarusian nature. We are a peaceful nation. We do not want to be involved in any conflict or war, especially not with our neighbors, with our brothers, because Belarus, Ukraine, and Russia used to be like brother nations. We fought together during World War II. We took some incredible losses during that horrible time, and overcoming this took solidarity and, a unique bond that we shared. But it still doesn't mean that we are, have any right to impose our way of living as Belarusians or Russians onto Ukrainians. And especially those rights do not have Lukashenko and Putin. Those are their ambitions, their goals, and they are not represented by, the Russian or Belarusian people. As a Belarusian, for me, it's, as I said, incredibly angry or maddening, and at the same time it's also one feels helpless because I'm far away, I hold no political office, and there's very little that I can do to actually help, to help my people in Belarus overcome this hardmanship where they're the victims of an oppressor and had to deal with incredible repressions alone in the past 2 years or a year and a half. And at the same time, of course, we can't do anything to, well, that's not quite true. We can do something to help the people of Ukraine, but it's still very limited because, as you can see, and I don't know if a lot of media have shared this, people in Belarus still protest. They go out to the streets even though they know they're going to be arrested, and they chant no war. Yeah. Because they, as I said before, they did not elect this government. They do not side with this decision to wage war against our neighbor, and they won't change, and we won't change. So as for me, even as someone who hasn't lived in Belarus for many years, I still believe as a born Belarusian, it is my duty to represent the civil society here abroad of Belarus and to represent their interests, to be their voice as best as I can, and therefore we are siding with Ukraine, of course. The position of Belarus in this terrible war is really painful for us as Belarusians, because we are being dragged into it even though we oppose it very, very much. But as people who are being still, violently prosecuted for opposition of this regime, people just get really scared. They're scared to lose their lives because many people have been killed because they hold different political views than the regime tolerates. They are scared to lose their loved ones, and it's worrying. It's incredibly worrying. Well, from what I've seen, especially in my inner circle, and it ranges from all parts of Germany to Austria, even the US, the people have shown incredible sympathy and solidarity towards with the Ukrainian people, especially those in the neighboring countries like Poland and Austria have been on the front lines, trying to gather goods for the people, trying to gather all the important information for the people who are currently fleeing. They are posting online, they're spreading the information, they're sharing useful resources for Ukrainians, to get accommodation, get first help, first aid, and it's incredibly touching. Protests are one thing, but there's so much more that people can do. There's so many funds one can donate to that are being directly delivered to either the Ukrainian army or to humanitarian aid, and we donate a lot. I know politicians and also in my inner circle that are going to the front lines, to the Ukrainian-Polish border, to support the refugees that are arriving there, to coordinate the first aid, and it's been overwhelmingly beautiful, really. From what I've seen, a lot of people feel incredible solidarity towards Ukrainian people, and I think also the images that have been shared around the world also show that the majority opposes war. I would not agree to that, because in my opinion, the politicians of the West have failed Ukraine. What they're doing now is a reaction to something that could have been avoided in the first place. Have they been, firm in trying to avoid this conflict in the first place? Vladimir Putin has been showing signs of aggression towards everything democratical for decades. We have had several incredibly painful and devastating wars all over Europe and Asia. We have had Georgia, we have had Syria, we have had Ukraine for 8 years. The violent suppression of Belarusian protests and in his own country. This is a person that cannot tolerate sovereignty, democracy, or something that just does not fit his view of a world that is still stuck in the Soviet Union, and therefore, if you deal with someone like that, who does not understand basic human decency, or his only language is not diplomacy but violence and strength as an alpha male, as a toxic male, so to speak, you cannot sit on the same side of the table and say, let's talk about it. He does not understand this language. And this has been shown in the failed diplomacy attempts in the past couple of weeks by the West. Emmanuel Macron has failed, Chancellor Olaf Scholz has failed, and now they're like the Avengers, not the Prevengers. They're
could have been
they try. Well, of course, we have to understand the security risks dealing with a nuclear-capable nation like Russia. That is one of the, if not the most nuclear-equipped nation on Earth, I would assume. I do not keep count how many nuclear weapons each country has, but I'm assuming they are very well equipped and very eager to use them as well. Because when you look at the Russian propaganda channels, they are already drawing up scenarios on how they could destroy New York or NATO states, and it's just insanity. And I think that absolutely this kind of like reserved position from the Western politicians was definitely due to the possibility that Russia could, engage in a nuclear war. And this is something that has completely failed. They first tried to evacuate their own people from the country. They knew that the invasion was coming. There was different, intel from the US and from other countries as well. And still, they waited until the very last minute, until bombs were literally flying into Ukraine to supply the country with weapons. Because I think they just underestimated how lost with reality Putin actually is. They thought, yes, the military buildup is there, the aggression is there, the possibility is there, but he will not dare to do this. And he did. It's just when you hear him speak, you realize that his speeches are a completely different version of events. The way he describes Ukrainian history, that is completely not true. Or Lukashenko said there will never be Russians in the country, or Russian troops in the country, as long as he's president. This is not just like, oh, well, we changed our mind because the events changed. This is something that has been planned for years to come. You do not come up with something this big, terrible, because you just woke up and felt like it, you know? They have been planning to attack Ukraine ever since Ukrainians decided that they do not want to be part of Russia. They do not want Russian corrupt politicians ruling their country. Exactly. So therefore, Vladimir Putin is still trying to resurrect, the Soviet Union, to bring Russia to its former glory, although this is arguable whether or not Russia had any glory to begin with during this time. But he just does not understand that this is not what people want and need. And this is just really a fantasy of a madman. We've seen Georgia, we've seen Syria, now we're seeing Ukraine and Belarus. How many countries do you have to go through this because one person just, wants to have it all, wants to have its whole power play outlived? And people just want to live free and in peace and, have the right to self-determination. And this is all being taken from our people. Honestly, there's always the possibility of, a nuclear scenario happening. And this possibility is always in the back of my hand, no matter how things are going, because we are dealing with a very unpredictable person that has the power to nuke half the planet. And he's already proven that he's unpredictable. So to try to argue, how likely is it that the scenario is really going to go bad is, the $1 million question. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm incredibly, optimistic and somehow also positive and absolutely astonished about how incredible the Ukrainians have held themselves so far. They have, shown the whole world just how brave they are, how resistant they are, that their love for their home country, trumps everything. And although a lot of people are currently fleeing because, understandable, they face rockets destroying their homes and bombing their loved ones, it's just how many people refuse to leave and they're staying. And they express this incredible hatred towards Russia that just fuels their love for their nation even more. And I don't think that Putin expected something like this. And I think that everything that is happening right now is not going the way he planned it to go, because you see a lot of Russian soldiers just out of fuel, out of, food. They don't have enough proviant, nothing really to go on with. And they even go to local police stations and ask for fuel because they're lost. They don't even know where they're going. And their morale is at an all-time low. Yeah. And therefore, I think that the more truth is being shared amongst them and reaches people back in Russia, and they understand that this is not a war for glory or their home country or a war against Nazis, the way Putin frames it, but a war for, the billions of Midmen. In my opinion, it's the only thing you can do is to go out and protest. You have to go out and share the truth. You have to go out and tell people what is going on, that you oppose it. Because when history looks back on us, how will you explain to your children then when war crimes were happening, you just let it happen and sat by idly without opposing it? This is something I cannot live with. And even though I might not have children, I just want to show the people right now that I am there for them, even though I might not help with much, that I can at least share information. I can offer them my couch if they come to Munich. I can offer them some solidarity, even if it's just a hug or some kind words when we demonstrate. I hold some speeches. I always say one of the first things I say is that how incredibly sorry I am for the part that my country plays in the current situation, because it's just shameful. Yeah. I'm a Belarusian. I don't want this, and I have to tell the people that Lukashenko does not represent us, but so do millions or a few Russians that attend our rallies. We have lots of speakers. They come to the podium and they're, you know, they're close to tears because it's just devastating for them too. Propaganda is really strong in Russia, and therefore I think they're just lost. But the percentage of people that is not, they need to do more. That is for sure. Even though it is scary, same as for Belarusians, you get arrested, you get fined, you get thrown in prison. At some point, this is going to be over. And when you, as I said, look back at what has been happening, at least you know you can live with yourself because you have done something to help the people, to make a difference.